Let's blow this up.
Look alive, Bomb Squad, because guess what? Season 1 of Let's Blow This Up is almost here. My name is Jason Cercone. I am the host and producer of Let's Blow This Up. I'm also the brainchild or mastermind or guy behind the curtain at Bombtrack Media. And Let's Blow This Up is the first podcast being produced under the Bombtrack Media flag. And this podcast is all about bringing you epic conversations and great insight, whether it be from a business perspective, whether it be from a life perspective. I wanted to create this platform so I could connect with like-minded professionals and really dig into some very engaging subjects. And I'm going to get into why I enjoy building podcasts in season format in just a moment. But before I do, I want to let you know today you're getting a little preview of what you're going to experience on season 1, because I put together a mashup from all 8 episodes, giving you a taste of what you'll experience when season 1 goes live. Speaking of which, season 1 will go live in its entirety on Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. When I say in its entirety, I mean every last second of it. Just like Netflix, just like Amazon Prime, you're going to have the ability to consume all 8 episodes all at once. Binge away, Bomb Squad, because this content is all at your disposal whenever you desire. If you want to jump around, listen to the 8th episode first, the 7th episode first, it's your world, boss. Have fun with it, but I don't feel like keeping anything from you. And I want to give you the ability to listen to everything season 1 has to offer. So Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, mark your calendars, write that down, however you keep notes these days. Or you know what, better yet, go subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to the Bombtrack Media YouTube channel so you get notified when all of these episodes drop on March 13th. So season 1 of Let's Blow This Up is all about some of the qualities needed to grow an impactful brand. And all of my guests are bringing their insights and perspectives to the microphone to help you grow in this respect. But what you're going to discover when we get into these conversations is it's not just about business. We're all humans. We all have a fun side. We all have things that we love outside of growing our brands. And that's why I loved putting this season together, and it made me realize that all the future seasons are going to be developed the same way. It was all unscripted. Yes, I had some questions in front of me, and I did my research prior to each conversation, so I knew what I wanted to talk about, so I was able to guide and steer things. But what was beautiful about each of these recording sessions is that the organic conversation took over, and everything that we were talking about stayed on subject, but there was little points where we might have veered off and talked about some things that may not have been directly related to the subject at hand, but it was still a lot of fun. And you're going to experience that when you consume this content. So in this mashup, I've included a little bit of both. So you're going to hear some of the great business insights and knowledge that our guests brought to the show, but we also had a little rant about The Office. We had a rant about Seinfeld. We had an argument about how steak should be prepared. We had a lot of fun putting this together, my guests and I. So today, in this mashup, you're going to feel a little bit of all of that. And of course, you're going to get every bit of it when the season goes live. Now, I mentioned before, I'm a huge proponent of doing podcasts in season format. And the reasons for that are numerous. One of them is that we can zero in on a certain subject, which is what we did with season 1 of Let's Blow This Up. And all future seasons will do the same thing. What I love about seasons is the time-saving factor. And this is something that benefited me as I put this season together, but it would benefit anybody that builds podcast content in this format. Trying to be there every single week when you have a lot of other responsibilities on your plate building your business can be extremely difficult. It can be a lot to ask. If you have that time, maybe a weekly podcast is great for you. Maybe more episodes than 1 per week works for you. But the numbers that I see tell me that most brands and entrepreneurs and business leaders and professionals trying to leverage podcasting simply don't have that kind of time. They're hearing all the gurus and the experts say this is how you have to make a podcast, But then they get into it and they only do a few episodes and they realize how much work is involved. And then they say, oh my God, this isn't for me. I can't do this. I'm out. And we've got so many podcasts in the podcast graveyard because of that. At Bombtrack Media, I'm trying to eradicate that belief and think about this in a more strategic fashion. This is why I love season-based content, because it allows you to create something that serves as an asset for your brand. It allows you to have some fun leveraging the platform, but it also gives you this bank of content that's not just the audio component, but you've also got video. You've also got the ability to transcribe it. So you have blogs and social media content and website content, even webinars if you want to take it to that extent. There's so much that you can do with this content. But for me, it's all about saving time and reducing stress. I'm doing that for myself as I produce Let's Blow This Up, as well as my other podcast, Podcast Theory, but we'll talk about that another day. The point is, season-based content has so much value, and I actually talk about this a little bit more in episode 8 of the season, which was my solo episode, sharing some of the qualities of utilizing podcasting to amplify your brand. So that's why this podcast is coming together in season format, and I highly encourage that you look at your production efforts, and if you're feeling a little bit of that burnout, if you're feeling a little bit of that, oh my God, we're going to pod fade because I just can't keep up with this, we should have a conversation. Let's talk about this, because there are ways that you can work smarter, not harder, and ultimately stay engaged in the podcast production that's not only going to serve your brand and take it to new levels, but also give you the content that you need to be visible across your entire digital footprint. When the season goes live, listen to episode 8 because I'm going to cover this in much more detail. But for now, I want you to have a small taste of what you're going to experience on season 1 of Let's Blow This Up. I was joined by some phenomenal guests: Steve Radick, Alexandra Watkins, Stacy Skiavo, Franze, Tanya Kindel, Michele Colella, and Cassie Brkich. I named them all off on the first try. I hope they're proud of me. They have done so much to help me bring this first season together. This is the foundation on which this podcast will continue to grow with future seasons. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with each and every one of these great people again in the future. For now, season 1 is ready to rock and roll. Enjoy this mashup, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, as episodes 1 through 8 of season 1 of Let's Blow This Up go live to the world. I'm Jason Cercone. I'm going to step aside and I'm going to let you enjoy this mashup of season 1. And until our paths cross again and we light this fuse for season 1, remember, always be explosive. Enjoy the mashup.
We've seen brands get, canceled, or we've seen people get canceled because of that. I'm not referring to those instances. I'm referring to the times when every marketing campaign, everything is explored under that microscope, and it paralyzes brands to the point where they don't do anything of substance because they try to be as milquetoast as possible to everyone. Yeah. And they get that reaction, and they might get some likes, but for the most part, everyone scrolls past.
Yeah, there's that fine line that you need to walk, and there are certain times that you don't want to go too far beyond that line. But at the same time, I think it's important to realize that a little bit of controversy can stir up the engagement that you need. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, once that engagement starts to get stirred up, the right people are going to come to the battle lines and defend what you're doing. And those are the people that you want to appeal to. You're never going to be for everyone. That's just impossible. It's an unrealistic expectation to think that you can go out there and make the whole world happy. No one is ever going to be able to accomplish that. And as technology continues to evolve and people spend more time on social media, that belief needs to be at the forefront even more, because you're going to waste a lot of time and go into that mode of not wanting to take risks or try new things and just be this bland, non-attention grabbing entity that no one gives a damn about.
I'll never forget. It was 2000, I think the 2018 Super Bowl. I was working on a Super Bowl commercial for 84 Lumber. And 84 Lumber, if you're familiar with it, it's a locally owned, a privately owned lumber company, but it's national. They make billions of dollars every year. It's become this huge thing, and it's owned by Maggie Hardy, who's been a CEO there for a while. Her father founded the company, and she was a hard client. But she's a hard client because she demands excellence, and she's not afraid of any of that. And so when you have to get over that mindset of what you were talking about, of like trying to be everything to everyone. She doesn't try to be everything to everyone. She just tries to be herself.
Now, let's eradicate a little bit of the Super Bowl hangover and talk a bit about Seinfeld. And this is a question I like to ask every Seinfeld fan, because this is very polarizing. In regards to Seinfeld, what were your thoughts on the final episode?
Oh my gosh, you're asking me to think back so many years.
I am.
I really?
1998.
Wow, and that was college. That's real cruel of you. I don't remember that.
That was high school for me.
Well, let's talk about the age difference then, I guess. Want to talk about something else polarizing?
Well, you know the premise, right? I mean, the basic. You want a refresher? I can give you the broad strokes. Basically, they were arrested for not helping a guy who was getting robbed, and they had to go to court.
Law.
Yeah, and they brought the Good Samaritan law, and then they brought back all of the old characters.
People.
And so spoiler alert, they ended up getting convicted. So yeah, if you've never watched the last episode of Seinfeld, A, we can't be friends. B, I just spoiled it. So Cassie, your thoughts.
But they had plenty of years. I think shows like that, you kind of have to do that sort of thing, even though it might be like a jump the shark kind of situation. People want to see all those people that they've like grown to know and love, and oh my gosh, I forgot about that guy. I forgot about that character. So I think it feels a little contrived sometimes, but also it really does make the viewers happy, I think.
Yeah, I think the overall consensus was that it really pissed people off. I looked at it from the standpoint of what did you want them to do? How did you want this series to wrap up? It was a show about nothing. No learning, no hugging. This was a show that was just there to have ridiculous scenarios put in front of you week after week. How are they supposed to do some sort of thought out, well-curated storyline to end it? I think it was great. Bring everybody back, give you one more taste of all the characters. They sort of get their comeuppance by getting their year jail sentence for everything that they've done wrong to people over the years. And they almost set it up to where you think they might come back when they set up the teaser of what in a year we'll be back.
I used to use my own name before I had to eat my words. I just used Alexandra Watkins. And once I became Eat My Words, like suddenly I had a brand, and I had a lot of wordplay that I could have, our blog is called The Kitchen Sink. We have a dollars to donuts value menu. So we have a lot of fun with the name, but yeah, like you do with Bombtrack Media. And that's one of the things I want to talk about, just the incredible legs that your name has.
Yeah, that was for me, again, when it hit me, and we'll talk more about the process, but when this name hit me, I thought for sure, I'm like, there's no way this is available, that somebody's had to be doing, like, using this name. I was shocked. There was a bike company named Bombtrack, and that was it. Like, I can't believe how wide open this is. And then immediately, I don't even think I went 3 minutes after that first discovery that, oh my God, I can run with this, that I named this podcast. Because I just started thinking of all the wordplay that can go with it. Listeners are part of the Bomb Squad.
That is the best. I'm sorry. That is like my favorite name of a group ever. I can't even. Yeah, it's just so good. People want to be part of the Bomb Squad.
Right? Like, to me, there is just so much to it. We're creating explosive content.
Yeah.
You can get bombed with your podcast. Again, I mean, I haven't really fully vetted all of these, but no, there's just so many ways to utilize this on merchandise, to utilize it with social media. Overall, I'm creating a brand presence that's fun, but I'm also, like, the main objective of what I do with Bombtrack Media is helping companies and brands create explosive podcast content, but do it in a way that saves them time and reduces their stress. So if they want to spend some time getting bombed, since they have all this available time, they can go out and have a drink or two and celebrate. You're right, though. I do appreciate you saying that, because that was a big part for me, was looking at immediately when the name hit, there was so many different things that came to mind. I was like, I can't wait to run with this. This is going to be awesome. Stacy, I got to ask you, you're a fan of The Office, right?
Love it.
Okay. So I knew we were on the same plane with that. So I have to ask the question that I ask every Office fan in the very first conversation that I have with them about the show.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on Robert California?
He is a conflicting character. I think he is fine. I mean, I think that he added something a little bit different when clearly there was a lot of changes with the show. Michael Scott was leaving. My big point to around that character is when they brought in Will Ferrell, and he was it D'Angelo Vickers?
Mm-hmm.
He was terrible. That is actually when I feared that was the end of everyone loving The Office. But thank goodness they injured him off with a basketball hoop and all was saved. Because honestly, even though Michael was gone, it wasn't the same. And other than getting a little crazy with making Andy look like a crazy person, I still think like the show was great to the end.
I'm with you there. And this has been my thought on it, especially when you go back and you watch it over and over again and you see the brilliance that Spader brought. The timing was so off. And I think even the creators have said this. I feel like I've heard this in passing, that they had James Spader in a very bad spot because he had to come in and fill in for Steve Carell and take over that main boss's role. And no one was, it was huge shoes. Like no fan was going to accept that. But if you take that element away and you actually look at Robert California for what that character was and some of the freaking lines this guy brought, like what's the one that always makes me like, well, the one was even in his interview, do I look like someone who would waste his own time? I use that all the time.
The fact that he was a character not trying to be Michael Scott is why he worked so much better than Will Ferrell's character.
Right. And then
it was trying too hard. It was so uncomfortable. Like it actually gave you flashbacks of like season 1, The Office, when they were still trying to figure Michael out. And Michael was just mean and rude and less funny. And like it took them some time to be like, we don't need to be like the British version. We can find our own Michael Scott, our own boss. And then they clearly got it.
3 words I try to focus on at all times, no matter what. Accentuate the positives. Now, is that always easy? Hell no. There are always going to be times where it doesn't seem like there is a positive. But if you're willing to do the exercises to look deep and actually find something and not be jaded, you'll find something.
Yes.
But again, I feel as if sometimes we get ourselves so just stuck in our own ruts that we can't let that type of thinking come forward. And that translates to building our brands as well, which I feel what you're saying today, why I love this subject so much, because it's not just about our personal lives. It can affect us professionally so much.
I mean, yeah, it's everything. When we're working with energy, and what you're describing is a type of therapy we also call IFS, which is like a parts where we identify those voices and those parts that kind of the brain's way of figuring out what the subconscious wants, right? Like that idea of like one part of me is saying this, the other part of me is saying that. Like sometimes those can take over, and if they're based on a belief of fear, of lack, then the energy that's driving you to do something can actually be the energy, like that survival energy that gets drained really easily. So we do want to focus on the positives, but on the side of what are those connected to, right? So that is the really key part, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, whether it's building your business, which is, often an extension of your personality and your passion, whether it's your health and your body. I mean, look at the 4 main areas of self-help. You're always going to come back to these main things, right? It's our financial, which is our safety, our security, our relationships, love, family, our health, and our body image.
For me, those connections are what it's all about. And that's something that I preach to everybody when it comes to podcasting. Yeah, you have this dynamic stage to create epic conversations and engaging content, to communicate with your audience, to give them something to truly sink their teeth in and build trust in you. But in the moment, and this is something I think gets overlooked a lot between podcasters, in the moment, it's a one-on-one conversation with a person that you could potentially build a relationship with, and you have no idea where that could go or how far that could go. If you overlook that point and don't take time to get to know the person you're interacting with and you're collaborating with, you're working together to spin some audio gold. But at the end of the day, who knows what that could become? The relationships that come from this when you do it the right way, that's where the value is.
Well, it's about networking, right? So, I mean, these type of shows where you do conversational style podcasts, where you're developing that network, where, like you mentioned earlier, the solo one, you're developing yourself more as an expert. But we have these conversations, and I can give you a quick example. I mean, we talk about some of these up-and-coming artists that have come on my show, but we've had some very seasoned people as well. And being able to talk to both of them has been great for me. But what really makes it great is now I'm able to make that introduction to the two. So I've had a very famous songwriter on the show who's written songs for George Strait, George Jones, all these big country artists, as well as he is an artist himself. And I had a young artist come on who's also a songwriter, and I was able to make the introduction to the two of them and say, hey, obviously you're a seasoned songwriter. This is a new artist with being and also a new songwriter. Make that introduction. They've been able to work together, and now they have a relationship where they're putting songs together, and it wouldn't have happened if they didn't have that conversation in the first place.
When I was doing my beer blog, that was what got me on the map, was a viral post. And I looked at it, immediately went, shit, what do I do now? It wasn't excitement, because I knew, okay, this is what I wanted. Now I have to continue to deliver, to keep these captive people that have come to my blog captivated. Did I keep them all? Probably not. But ideally, when you're looking at content, that viral piece, that can be great. But on top of it, I think of everything you said is great. I think a lot of this comes down to trusting the process and continuing to deliver with consistency, because you have to earn trust from anybody that finds your account, and to keep them locked on to whatever you post versus just quickly scrolling by. You have to have that trust. And as you build it, they will stay on your account a little bit longer than others. It takes time to get there. And that's where I think so many people don't have the patience for that.
No, that's so true. I've seen that a bunch of times too, where accounts do super well and they're posting very consistently, and then they just kind of stop. And like, I get it. Like, if something big has happened in your life, or like you just need a break, like that happens, but that will hurt your account. People will notice, they will unfollow. So, I mean, yeah, that's exciting, but I agree that can also be scary, because you're like, well, now my expectations are so much higher. People require, like, I would say at least a post every single week, consistent stories, like new content. People will want to know what your value is of even following them. Like, what are you bringing to them on a regular basis? And yeah, the pressure is there.
So I know this is a very big pillar in everything you do, with thinking about the overall wellness of a human being, their mental capacity, their mental state, their mental well-being. Speak to the importance of this, as if I haven't already tried to drive that point home with my little spiel here. In your experience over the years, how does focusing on the mental health, how does that impact how we develop and grow our brands over time?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you are a sole single entrepreneur and you're trying to grow your brand by yourself. Again, you might have some people around you helping out, but like, you are the face, you are the driving, the passion behind it. Like, you need to be at your best performance level in order to be able to do that. Granted, we're not at 100% every single day. We're humans. But like you said, if your mental health, if you're not doing well, that trickles down through everything else. So I think it's kind of knowing like what your basic needs are, if you will. How many hours of sleep do you need a night to function? Like, with me, like, sleep is kind of like the core of everything. If you aren't sleeping well, that's going to impact everything you're doing for the rest of your day, your week, your month. So like, know those things about yourself. How much sleep do you need? What kind of food do you need around you? What kind of people, what kind of movement or wellness activities that you need to keep your energy up, to help you feel good. And those need to be non-negotiables, because without those kind of very basic things, everything else just kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
The social stuff is kind of big for me, because my schedule is so I don't know, intense, jam-packed. If I don't have things in my schedule that are fun, that I get to see my friends, that I enjoy, I start to like lose my mind and question all my decisions. Like, is this really worth it?
It's all about the practice swings. The more reps you put in, the more comfortable you're going to get. You're going to get over those initial fears. It just takes time and it just takes repetition. And eventually you're going to find your voice. And there's no reason that you have to sound like the greatest radio or television personality in the world in order to convey your message. You just have to be yourself and be authentic. And that's going to ring through when you send those videos. And that could be from sending a proposal to a client to just putting something on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, whatever platform you're playing on. So much value in this. Cannot be overlooked.
It's so true. And I will tell you, more people that meet me, they don't believe when I say this, but I was terrified to public speak, so much so that I transferred colleges a few times so that I could get away from the public speaking requirement. I never took it in college. I never took it in high school. And when people meet me, they're like, oh, you're so engaging. I'm like, I'm really good one-on-one or one-on-two, but I was never good in front of a room full of people that I couldn't engage back with. Like, so that's still a tricky one for me, but I'm 100% better at it because I've forced myself to do it. I've jumped in front of a room. Does someone want to read this? Yes, I'll do it. I just have thrown myself into the ring many times, and it's gotten so much easier.
I got to ask, what is the best way to eat a steak, and why is the answer medium rare?
Okay, well, the answer is not medium rare, so let's start there.
Let's argue, my friend.
All right, I know you are from the area of cheesesteak, and
no, I'm not. That's on the other side of the state.
Well, it's the other side of the state. You're in the state.
All right, fine.
All right, and me being from Boston, we have the roast beef is typically the way to go, but you're talking about steak specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Steak specifically, medium well to well done, hands down.
God, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oh, hands down. And I love steak. It's.
Yeah, I know. That's why I brought this up.
What my favorite food was, it would be steak. Steak and ravioli is my two favorite foods.
Well, steak and chicken wings. Raviolis are interesting.
I love chicken wings too. Don't get me started. I mean, I'm a huge fan of chicken wings. Boneless, but I like chicken wings.
Those aren't chicken wings. Those are chicken nuggets.
I understand that. They're chicken nuggets, but I've got kids. I like chicken nuggets.
So do I, but I don't call them chicken wings.
I know, but I like boneless wings only because of the fact that I don't have to fight with the bone and the cartilage and all the other stuff that comes along.
What kind of battles are you having? It's not that hard.
I have battles. But let's get back to your steak question. All right, let's forget my chicken wing obsessions. But steak, medium well for sure. It has to be these days sirloin steak, no fat, medium well, blackened, and oh dear God, it's the best thing ever. Best thing ever. And I used to be big on fillets, and I still love fillets because they're very low on fat. But lately, sirloin.
Isn't it? I mean, you were talking about having battles with the bones of a chicken wing. You want to chew on boot leather?
Oh, dude.
That's basically what you're creating for yourself.
Your rare steak is, I can't get, I don't know how graphic you want to get, but I can't get my tooth through a rare steak. It's chewy. I don't want my steak to be chewy.
If it's cooked right, it melts. Medium rare to medium. You go any higher than that, you're fucking up your steak.
No.
There is so much power in building your content this way. And think about it this way. I'll pose the question to you like this. Did you wake up today thinking, I need to start a podcast? Now, maybe you did, but maybe you didn't. But I guarantee you woke up today and said, I would love to find some new customers today. Everybody that's building a brand has that thought when they wake up in the morning and their feet hit the floor. You're trying to grow your business. You're trying to put your idea in front of more people so you can showcase to the world what you've created and how it will impact them and take them from their pain points to a position of pleasure. Solving those problems is what you and your brand and your product and your service are all about, and you need a vehicle that gets this information in front of your target customer. A podcast is going to help you do that because not only will the podcast provide the impact, but all of the other repurposable items that you build through your podcast will do the very same thing. End of the day, we're just trying to make money, right? We're trying to generate sales, generate revenue. This is a vehicle that's going to take your customer from point A to point B Now, every customer moves at a different speed, but as they move down that timeline, every time they hear you create a new piece of content and bring new information to them, they are building more trust in you. They know as that trust builds, when the time is right for them, they can turn to you because you've done so much to impact their life already.